Good day, Chief here for Chief Tells Tales. I started to talk about something else and realized I got to finish up my TDY and my mother's emergency leave from my mother. Now, like I said, when I took my emergency leave, I already had a leave form for my school dates to include a few days before and a few days after, because I was going to spend some time at home. Plus, I had to return an automobile that I was not given, that I desperately needed. And now, the headache. So, my younger two children that did not get to go to Germany with me are living in Sierra Vista, which is Fort Huachuca area. My daughter had just given birth to my first grandchild. She was living there with her mother, and she wanted to come home with me so she could live in the house since my mother was out and my older son was taking care of the house. I said, fine, the two of you can come and live. I said, I will be home in February. And then she asked, well, can I go to Germany with you? I said, well, first off, you can't, because you need to get a passport for the little one. That's 90 days. So by the time you get a passport, I'll be on my way home. She goes, oh. And I said, you're not going to leave her with anybody else? And she says, well, of course not. She had nobody else to leave her with. So she was going to come home with me, so hence, good thing I had a car. And I asked her, I said, well, give me some boxes of some of your stuff that I can mail. She did. She gave me all the blankets. I said, well, I can use that to stuff in corners of the car. So I ended up mailing no boxes, because what she gave me was all stuff that I could smush or put in the car. So she rode in the back seat with her daughter, and we drove home. Spent a few days. So now we're into November. We are in the week before Veterans Day, November the 11th. So we get home, we get her situated, we help her with some stuff. There's not much furniture here because even her bed is in Germany due to the fiasco, because like I said, they were taken away from me the day before we flew, and all our household goods had already been long packed, about a good month almost. And I didn't see him from July to when I showed up in January. So for half a month, or for half a year, I didn't even have furniture while I was still living here, but that's old story. So I get her situated, so I fly home, and I fly home on a Thursday to get to Germany on a Friday, and that is my end day of my leave on a Friday. So Friday late in the day I call. Now for this leave, the Heidelberg command staff was taking care of my leave situation for the whole time I was gone. And I had a wonderful master sergeant who worked in our section, who basically was my sergeant, so to speak, who took care of my business because I was one of his soldiers, even though the greater share of his soldiers were all officers. He was really good. I think his last name was Baker. I'm not really sure, but he was really good. So I went back to work on Monday. I think the 4-day was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I can't remember, because I think Memorial Day was on a Saturday. Doesn't matter. So I get back to work, got my leave form, turn it in to the master sergeant. 2 days later, he comes back. He says, Chief, you're not going to believe this. I said, let me hear it, or something to that effect. He says, I need 3 leave forms. I said, excuse me? He says, yes. He says, we need your emergency leave and your leave before school. I said, okay. And then we need a leave form from the start of your school date to the end of your school date. Okay. And then we need a leave form for the day after school until you got home. I said, who wants this? The major. Never met this major. Another major who's trying to make himself feel important. I said, you got to be kidding me. Okay, type up 3 leave forms. Chief, the first 2 are okay. I said, excuse me? What's wrong with the third one? Well, you came home on a 4-day weekend. The major is insisting that you use up 2 more leave dates to cover Saturday and Sunday for the holiday, for the 4-day holiday of Veterans Day. So that way you couldn't be called in to do any duty. I go, Master Sergeant, I am now a CW4. The only duty that I can do is Field Officer of the Day. But since I am assigned and attached, I can't perform any duties because that's not part of the job description of me being attached. He goes, I know that, but the major is insisting on it. No. Okay, Chief. That's not all my headache. Now, I need to settle with travel. Now, anybody that's been in as long as I have, travel used to be really frustrating. You had to generally go about to 2 or 3 places to get everything coordinated. Then they decided that we'd do this automated system where you get online, you find your ticket, you find your hotel, you find your car rental if you get. So you get everything on one easy platform. Well, I had already done that, but it was too early in the month for me to make arrangements to get my ticket to fly to go to school. So therefore, with my mom's situation, Red Cross flew me from Germany to San Antone, and from San Antone back to Germany. My travel section didn't like that. Well, we understand you flew for your mother's situation, but how did you get from San Antone to the schoolhouse? I drove a personal car. That wasn't authorized. I realize that. And I'm not asking you to reimburse me. Well, you don't understand. We need the means that you went from San Antone to the schoolhouse and from the schoolhouse back to San Antone. As I said, I drove a personal POV. Not authorized. I understand that. I'm willing to take the loss. You don't have to give me anything for it. Well, I have a conundrum. I have to justify how I got you to the schoolhouse. So in other words, you're saying I needed to fly from San Antone to the schoolhouse and then back from the schoolhouse back to San Antone so I could use my ticket from the emergency leave. Yes. I said my intention anyway was not to fly all the way to the schoolhouse, because then you'd be yelling at me because I didn't use part of the ticket, so that I was going to go to San Antone first. That's why I was going to take some leave days before the school, pick up a car, drive to the schoolhouse, because, oh, by the way, not being authorized a car, I was living off base. I needed a car. Well, that wasn't authorized. I said, I know. I don't know what you guys think that everything is condensed on Fort Huachuca. It's not. The reason it's not condensed is because the schoolhouse is near the trainee or the AITers, the advanced individual training. So you got people studying to become soldiers. You don't become a soldier until after you got an MOS and you're working at it. So you become a soldier the day you graduate your AIT. So therefore, there's no mixing of regular troops and AITers, not unless the situation allows for it. Which we did. We got to go through some of their classes to tell them what we expected of them out in the field. We got to critique their exercise, and we got to meet them on a small scale. We didn't get to associate them other than that. You weren't supposed to date young, brand new soldiers. So everybody thinks that all these bases, everything's consolidated. It's not. Fort Huachuca's living accommodations for people that come to visit is like 2 or 3 miles away and lots of roads. So you would need a taxi. So if I didn't have a car, there would have been a lot of taxi bills. And it probably would have been, oh my God, cheaper. We should have given you a car in the first place. So 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes of trying to tell this guy, you didn't pay for me to get to America. Red Cross did. Well, we understand that, Chief, but we got to justify how you got to the schoolhouse. Finally, this guy called the main guy, or the main guy was walking by of our travel department. He says, I got a problem here. He says, this guy went home on a emergency leave ticket through the Red Cross, and he drove a personal car to Fort Huachuca and back to San Antonio. He just said, authorize it. That's how simple it was. That will come. That one will get audited when I go to my next base. I didn't know they audited these things, but that one will get audited. And I'm glad it didn't. No, that one did not get audited. Something else did. And it's a good thing this one didn't get audited, because generally when they audit it, you got to come up with all the leave forms and everything else. Now, getting back to Master Sergeant and the Major. Chief, the Major is insisting that you do a leave form with an additional 2 days on it. Master Sergeant, I know you're the middleman. I know you don't want to hear this. No, I am not going to waste 2 leave days when I can't pull any duty to begin with. I tried to explain that to him, sir, but he just is not catching on, because he thinks that you should have had 2 leave days to cover the day. Some people are like that, because they hate people or dislike soldiers when they take Monday through Friday off and then it's a 4-day weekend, so therefore they're not expected to do duty. You can still have them do duty if they don't have a leave form to cover that day, but I'm not authorized to do duty. That sounds kind of bad, to do duty in Heidelberg. Master Sergeant looked at me and he goes, Chief, you just got some free leave. He tore the leave form up and never submitted it, and it was never asked for again. Good Master Sergeant. I would meet him later on when I go to the... Where would I meet him? Can't remember where I meet. Oh, I'll meet him when I get to my final assignment, briefly. I'll work with him briefly again. But now he's a civilian contractor. Good Master Sergeant. Made a decision. I just couldn't believe that he tore the leave form up and gave me free leave. So this Chief out. I'm done with my advanced course. I'm done with travel. I'm going to go to Finland yet. I got a video about Finland, and I got a sad video where I actually lose a warrant officer. Not through life or death situation, but he gets chaptered out. And then I got my headache of trying to leave Germany, because that was fun too. So, freedom is not free. I don't know what's going to go on. I don't want this war to continue any longer than it has to, because I got to get her to America. That's all I'm going to say about that today. So, thank a veteran, kiss a veteran, and if you're lucky enough, sleep with one. You know what to do.